On August 11, 2025, the Qantas A380, also affectionately known as KingRoo, returned to Dallas-Fort Worth for the first time since before COVID in 2020. And I was very fortunate enough to be invited on board the Re-Inaugural flight from here in Dallas down to Sydney, Australia. For those starting out in Dallas, make sure to get there plenty early as the ticket counters do open 4 hours before departure time, and given there are a lot of international flights leaving around this time in the evening, the TSA line does get pretty busy. Since I'm sitting in business class on the Qantas A380 for the flight down to Sydney, Australia, I was also given access to the American flagship lounge here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but since a lot of the lounge has American Airlines logos all over it, I'm not going to go over the lounge in depth, but it was really nice to have access to that lounge here during my connection in Dallas. My aircraft for this long flight down to Sydney, Australia will be VHOQK, an Airbus A380 that was delivered directly to Qantas in November of 2011, but was then put into storage during COVID from July of 2020 until March of 2022, came back into service, and then went back into storage again for a brief period of time from February to December of 2024. This aircraft is named after John and Reginald Duagan, who were two brothers and Australian pioneers in aviation who built and flew the first ever Australian-made aircraft. Before boarding, we also got a tour of the aircraft cabin, which was super cool considering this was my first ever time being on an A380.
The onboard lounge, and so how this is kind of an open space. You can get up, you can walk around, do all the things, touch on the wine and all the things, because that's probably what you're
Thank you for leaving Qantas flight named Coach Service American Airlines 7262 to Sydney. Would now like to invite our priority group 1 to board using the priority.
Hello.
Back again.
Back again.
Time to get some rest on it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
As mentioned briefly, I will be taking this flight down to Sydney, Australia in the airline's business class cabin, more specifically seat 20A. Waiting for me at my seat there was a pillow as well as a blanket and a small comforter, the dinner menu as well as the breakfast menu, an amenity kit, noise cancelling headphones to borrow, and a water bottle. And if you're on one of the seats on the side of the aircraft, you also get use of these cubbies, which are super helpful for storing things during the flight. Prior to pushback, they also came around with sparkling water or champagne. They brought around pairs of Qantas PJs for you to wear during the flight, and they also had you fill out the breakfast card for the meal that you wanted just before landing in Sydney. There are plenty of other seat and cabin features to go over, but I'll do that once we're in the air as we have a long flight down to Sydney.
And on the flight deck today, we've got First Officer Matt Napier, Grant Irving, and Andrew Stahl. Welcome to our service. In fact, our first A380 service down to Sydney from Dallas. Just a few details about our flight today. So 16 hours, which, although that sounds a long time, in air, it's actually a fast flight time today, so we should have you arriving a few minutes late off the gate here, so fairly close to schedule. Into Sydney, which is 5 minutes to 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning, so we jump across the date line. So if you'd like to set your watches, the time now is just coming up 5 minutes to 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. So we'll miss Tuesday altogether, arriving in Sydney on Wednesday morning. A couple of minutes. Weather for arrival in Sydney, Sydney forecast a bit cloudy. They did say that very slight chance of rain, and temperature there starting in the morning around 9 degrees and increasing to around 18 degrees. So for those in Fahrenheit, it's about 46 degrees in the morning, going through to about the top of 65 degrees Fahrenheit for the day. Our trek today, we head down initially through Mexico, then out over to the Pacific. As the sun starts to come up, the first spot we fly over is Villa Vanuatu, and then over Nemea, then down the coast into Sydney. Sit back, enjoy the service today with us, and our cabin crew today led by Bree and James. I'm sure you have a good flight, and I'll speak to you again as we near Sydney. Thank you.
Thank you for choosing to fly Qantas.
everyone. You will have noticed that the seatbelt signs have been switched off. However, we do recommend that you keep your seatbelt fastened whenever you are seated. And for your safety, we don't allow anyone, including children, to sleep on the floor of any area of the aircraft.
let's go over some of the seat features and cabin features before the meal comes out. To the side of you, you do have these cubbies, which are really great, and they are decently sized, making them big enough for comforters as well as blankets that they gave you, along with anything else that you may be traveling with, or your regular clothes once you change into your PJs. Other than that one row that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, most of the business class seats do have this, as well as those in premium economy. Qantas does have a very large selection of movies and TV shows you can watch, and other than the basic A to Z format of organizing them, you can also go into different categories depending on what you may want to watch on these very long flights that they do operate. They also do the same thing for audio, and they organize it into different categories and genres, and they also do offer audiobooks as well. They also offer a kids section as well, where they have kid-friendly movies, TVs, music, as well as audiobooks. You can even put the screen into kid mode, where everything is rated G and kid-friendly. They do offer this section called box sets, which is essentially groupings of the same movie or TV show. Especially since you're on a very long flight, you have time to binge watch your favorite movies, including stuff like the entire Harry Potter movie series. They also offer board games, arcade games, as well as puzzles, and you can even play together with somebody in another seat, which is a great feature as well. They even offer this cool feature called Seat Chat, where you can message somebody in a different seat, no matter what cabin they're in, which does become really handy, especially if you're traveling with someone else and you're not seated near them. They also have this section where you can look at other useful information, such as exercises to keep your blood circulating during the long flights they do operate, weather forecasts from not only Australia but other parts of the world as well, an AvGeek favorite, the moving map, which shows information about your route, as well as the tail camera, which isn't showing much at this point because it is dark outside. However, I will show it a little bit more as we are on approach to Sydney. This is the home screen of the IFE system for Qantas, which shows the flight time remaining, along with a couple of fan favorite and new movies. As the business class seats are staggered, they have some seats that are closer to the window and some that are closer to the aisle, and I was very specific to choose this one. I'm 5'4" for reference, and obviously I had plenty of room in these Qantas business class seats. This is the comforter that they give you for the flight, which is wrapped in plastic when you get it. It is a fitted sheet, and it does have bungee on the edges, which means you can put it around the sides of your seat and it won't come off while you're sleeping during the flight. About 40 minutes into the flight, they brought around drinks as well as warm nuts. They did have a wide variety of main course options, which I'll put on the screen, then you can pause if you want to read it. The option I chose was red mole beef cheek with blistered cherry tomatoes, along with char-grilled broccolini, carrots, and potatoes. There was also corn puree, but I opted out of that. And on the side there was green leaf salad with Neil's vinaigrette. Once I was finished with my meal, they came and cleaned it up, and then offered me dessert, the options of which can be seen here, and I went with vanilla Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Once I was all done with my dessert, I put my seat into bed mode, and decided to try and get some sleep for this long flight down to Sydney. This is what it looks like at your feet when your seat is in the bed position, and I did have tons of room. Granted, I'm not very tall anyways. But even somebody that is on the taller side should have plenty of room in these seats, as they are plenty long. Now about 2 hours into the flight, the cabin crew turned down the lights so everybody could try and get some sleep. I actually got some really good quality sleep on this flight down to Sydney and probably slept a little over 8 hours. When I woke up, we were somewhere in the South Pacific, and given that we had taken off about 10 hours ago and I had been either sleeping or sitting the entire time, I decided to get up and walk around so I could stretch my legs. We had a little less than 6 hours left in the flight, and with the cabin lights still off, I had to be really careful not to wake anybody up as I was walking around. If you woke up in the middle of the night and you were still hungry, you could head to the second forward galley, and they had a self-serve snack bar which had a wide variety of options, from fruit and vegetables to anything salty and sweet, and they even had a bowl of chocolate or macaroons you could help yourself to. I decided to continue heading forward through the forward business class cabin that consisted of rows 11 through 15 to the onboard lounge for business and first class passengers located on the upper deck in the front of the cabin. The onboard lounge for first and business class passengers is very nicely designed, with wood-like features, plenty of seating, tables, light fixtures, and plugs for all your devices. At the front of the lounge, there was also the in-flight moving map similar to what is at your seat, so you can see where you are in the flight. The forward stairs to the lower deck are also located in the lounge. As mentioned, along with the plenty of seating and power outlets, there is also a remote directly under the power outlets, as well as a headphone jack and a flight attendant call button. Another really cool feature of this onboard lounge is that if you're traveling with a group and you want to watch a movie together, you can do so here in the onboard lounge by plugging your headphone in and watching it on the big screen that's located here. Also located in the lounge is a mini fridge with more snacks as well as candy and fresh fruit, as well as drink options as well. Unlike a lot of other airlines that operate the A380, Qantas does not restrict the use of the onboard stairs during the flight, so you can go down them. While there isn't really much down at the bottom of the stairs, it's still pretty cool seeing you're able to walk down and upstairs while you're in flight. Plus, walking up and down stairs is a good thing to get your blood and circulation moving, especially on long flights like this, or you could just simply stretch your legs on the stairs as well. As mentioned, there isn't really much to do at the bottom of the stairs, however there is an extra bathroom and it also features a window. After thoroughly exploring the forward part of the lower deck as well as the bathroom, I went back upstairs to sit in the lounge for a little bit longer before heading back to my seat. Now with snacks and candy in hand, I headed back to my seat so I could explore the features of it, as I didn't get to do that before I fell asleep or the meal towards the beginning of the flight. This silver button right here does activate the tray table and releases it from the side of your armrest. And this to the side of you is the seat control panel. It operates pretty much everything that has to do with the seat and the surrounding area, including reclining it, putting it into bed mode, bringing it back up for takeoff and landing, the light fixtures above and around your seat, as well as massage mode and the do not disturb button, which turns your seat number on the outside of the seat to red, if you would rather not be disturbed and just want to sleep through the meals and anything else happening during the flight. Also in the similar area right behind that is the power outlet, as well as a USB-A port and your headphone jack. Above that, there is a smaller cubby area which holds small items such as the amenity kit, the water bottle they gave you at the beginning, along with the noise-canceling headphones they gave you to borrow during the flight. Speaking of the amenity kit, this is the one they give out to the business class passengers, which includes earplugs, lotion, moisturizer, an eye mask, socks, as well as a pen, and a reusable toothbrush as well as toothpaste. Towards the front of your seat, there is also this other pocket, which is where your safety card is located, as well as the in-flight magazine and your sick bag. Right near where your arm sits is another panel you can lift up and features a mirror, and is also where your retractable remote is located. Now with about 5 hours left in the flight and it still being dark out, I decided to start my second movie. About 20 minutes after I started my movie, the flight attendant saw I was up and offered me a mid-flight meal. For this mid-flight meal, I chose a chicken sandwich which had lettuce, avocado, as well as green sauce. Once I was done with my mid-flight meal, they cleaned it up and I put my seat back into the lie-flat position so I could watch the movie. By the time my second movie had finished, there was about 3 hours left in the flight, so I decided to get up and walk around a little bit more for the next 20 or so minutes went to the onboard lounge in front of the cabin, walked up and down the stairs again, grabbed some fruit, and headed back to my seat. Even though the sun hadn't come up yet, I could see the first bit of land since we left the US, which were lights on the island of New Caledonia. With about 2.5 hours left on the flight, I decided to start my third movie, and not much longer after that, I could start to see the sunrise come up over the horizon. The cruising altitude did increase as the flight went on, and that does tend to happen a lot with long-haul flights given when they burn fuel they lose weight and it makes it more efficient to cruise at higher altitudes, which is why I only put the initial and the final cruising altitude in there. About an hour and a half or so before landing is when they brought around breakfast. The breakfast you brought around is based on the card you filled out prior to leaving the gate in Dallas about 16 hours prior. There were tons of options you could have chosen for breakfast, but I had a feeling I was going to eat a ton of snacks during the flight, which I was absolutely correct about, so I decided to go on the lighter side for breakfast. For a drink I chose apple juice, and for the main course I chose waffles with spiced apple and berry compote, yogurt, and toasted pecans. For those that wanted to get the most amount of sleep possible, there was also an option at the bottom you could have checked that said you didn't want to be woken up for breakfast. It wasn't long after cleaning up the breakfast that the cabin crew started getting ready for the approach into Sydney. Also before landing, there was a video talking about how bringing vegetables and fruit, along with other produce into Australia is forbidden, meaning any fruit and vegetables you get on board from this self-service snack area needs to be thrown out or left on board the plane.
Just off the coast of Newcastle, maybe up the coast, right inside there. Our trip today takes us down the coast and more than likely overfly the airport just to the south of the city, so about the right inside. Look out in the distance and you can see the harbour beach and leading up towards the north. Even though an hour late off the gate, we're only just a couple of minutes late into Sydney, touching down at 7 a.m. And that's 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. We jumped across the date line, so it's now Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Weather, fine. For most of the day, temperature about 48 degrees Fahrenheit to about 65 Fahrenheit, or for those in Celsius, about 9 to 18 degrees later on in the day. There is a chance of some evening showers for Sydney. We hope you've enjoyed your flight on board Qantas, and we hope to see you on board again for our first flight down from Dallas for a long time. Thank you.
Not only is this the longest Qantas A380 flight in their network, but it is also the second longest A380 route in the world. Given this and also the fact that it is close to the max range of the A380, they do have to weight restrict these planes a little bit on the Dallas to Sydney route, which they usually do in economy, especially given the large amount of cargo that they take on board these flights. I was able to talk to a handful of people at Qantas, and they said because the economy cabin is the one that gets weight restricted, in terms of how many passengers they can book into the cabin, they do give the option to passengers to book multiple seats. As the cabin is laid out in a 3-4-3 configuration, you're welcome to buy 2 or even 3 seats, that way you can lay down so you can get more rest and relaxation during the flight. This option for those economy passengers is what Qantas calls neighbor-free seating, and is not the full fare as if there were an extra passenger sitting there or you're booking an entire new seat, but instead is just a small extra fee to keep those seats empty next to you for the flight. At this point in time, the A380 from Qantas only flies to Dallas-Fort Worth from Sydney 4 times a week, with the other 3 weekly flights being on the 787 Dreamliner. However, they will increase the A380 service to daily from January 1st, 2026. In addition to the increase in seating capacity on Dallas to Sydney with the A380, they will also increase their Dallas to Melbourne flight from 4 times a week to daily on January 1st, 2026. Not only is this my longest flight I have ever taken, but it is also my first time on Qantas, first time on an A380, first time on any double-decker aircraft for that matter, as well as the first time on any quad-engine aircraft.
Welcome to Sydney, where the current time is 7:01 AM on Wednesday the 13th of August. We ask that you please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the seatbelt...
I had an absolutely fantastic time on the re-inaugural flight of KingRoo, the Qantas A380 from Dallas-Fort Worth to Sydney for the first time since before COVID. The crew was amazing and the food was absolutely fantastic as well, and it definitely did not feel like a 16-hour flight, and I also got some amazing sleep on the flight as well, which I did not expect. This is the longest flight I have ever taken by distance and time, and I would definitely do it again in a heartbeat considering how refreshed I felt landing in Sydney in the morning. I am here in Sydney for 3 nights, and during this time I will be heading to the Qantas headquarters near the airport to interview the head of the IOC as well as the head sommelier for Qantas Wine Week, a 1-week event every year where Qantas picks the wine selection for the entire first business and lounge menu for the next year. That video is already up on my channel. And once I'm done with all the fun Qantas activities here in Sydney, Australia, I head back up to Los Angeles on QF11, once again on the airline's A380, but this time in their premium economy class. That video should be up soon.